Hello, I wanted to do a second video. It's been a while since I did the process of a dream analysis using Robert A. Johnson's process, the 4-step, 5-step total process that he uses in his book, Inner Work, that we went through together on the channel. And it's basically a process for using the Jungian techniques for psychoanalysis on your own dreams so that you can interpret them and learn from them, and then do a practice to actually integrate the message from the dreams into your waking life. And so I did that with a dream that I had a while back. And it's very important for me, this one. And I'm excited to share it because it was actually really deep. And in the beginning, I did a surface kind of interpretation of what the dream I thought meant to me. And it was completely, looking back, as Robert says in his book, you spend more time with it and it can actually tell you some really important things, what the subconscious, what the unconscious is trying to tell you. And that's what we're getting at, is the whole purpose of it. So I called this this dream, Left for Dead. That's intense. It was Left for Dead / A Star is Born, because in the beginning I thought it was saying going one direction and it completely changed. So just to kind of cover up, give you an idea of what the dream was, and then we'll go into the slides. I then felt embarrassed about being the only woman there. I instantly heard another female voice faintly in the distance. I wrote down that she was probably being called out too. I felt better knowing she was also there, even though we weren't together and I was still lost. So just like in the other one, I did put together this in PowerPoint. It's really helpful to work through this process for me. There's a pre-made template like this where you can just plug in the dream images. And these are the steps that you'll see on the bottom corner here, the steps that are in the Inner Work dream interpretation process. So first you collect the primary dream images for you from the dream. And in mine, I had the idea of being lost. It could be an idea, an image, a picture, the feelings, something that you're going to later go through the steps of associating, as you'll see through here. So it's kind of a loose process. You shouldn't get too hung up on what it is, but I remember I went through, as I was reading it, things that were repeated, like eyes, the fact that I lost my hearing, and some of the other things you'll see here that ended up being the prominent dream images for me that I worked through as I did the psychoanalysis. So the concept of being lost was the whole initial idea in the dream. The mechanics that I found in the rooms that I worked with on locating an address. Then there was the interruption through the dancers. And this, I'll show you, kind of connected to a previous dream interpretation that I did on here, the first one. And so Robert A. Johnson does talk about how you might have repetitive themes or concepts in dreams, especially if you're not working through the stuff that's unconscious for you. And so there's some kind of repetition that you might want to take note of and connect it. So I did look back at that presentation. It was helpful in putting this PowerPoint directly over that one and seeing some of the words, and you'll see kind of how that comes into play with this one. The airport, the belly, uniforms. So this is like the post office uniforms that everyone was wearing, that group was wearing when we were in the belly of the airplane, and we were having that disconnect where I was trying to connect with them. They were all together and I didn't feel included. And then I was left, and then I had the eyes and the ears. All right. And you're not extroverted and introverted in terms of how much you're talking and connecting and talking with people, because her boss, who gave the presentation, is a Myers-Briggs licensed teacher, shared with us that she's extroverted as the chart shows, but she's actually really shy. So an extroverted person can very much be shy, but the difference is, in terms of Jung and the psychology, is that where you get energized from. Are you energized by sharing your energy with lots of people, or does that deplete you? Or are you energized from your world within? Do you get your energy from taking time to yourself and exploring things and your thoughts and feelings in a very internal way? Or does being expressive and having a conversation, does that stimulate you and give you more energy? And people are just, it's a 50-50, and you're just going to be one or the other. And both are okay. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with you. But again, society labels extroversion as good and introversion as bad. This is where it gets interesting, because society would label this part of me as autistic. And I identified the address, this part of me that retreats and escapes from people and stays very much, long lengths of time to myself. And even in terms of friend groups, I have my primary friends, like I see them maybe once a year, like birthdays and holidays, and they know about it. It's a running joke, but we have deep connections where we just pick up where we left off, and that's really great. But I also do a sifting through. Recently, I did a sifting through of, really where my energy is and how relationships impact that. And there's that saying about the 5 or 6 closest people to you say a lot about who you are. And so being more selective with who you are, because that is an indication or a reflection of you. And for me, it's very important that I have to stay mindful of that. I have to have that core resonation. These core values have to be a match, and who I spend time with and what they're aligned with also has to be spiritually in sync. Because this isn't a game for me. This is very important to be someone who takes consciousness seriously. Not that it has to be everything and anything that you work through. Like I said, I have my friends and I hang out with them. We have a great time. We'll do the party thing, whatever. It's just understanding how much that takes out of me physically, and having a group of people that support and understand that. And it brings me to these yellow highlighted points as well, because this is associated with high functioning autism spectrum disorder. It's very much a part of it. Again, relating to the association of the address, this is when I go nonverbal. This is another thing that's associated with autism spectrum disorder. And the last one I'll just touch on, I did a little bit, but it brings us full circle to from stigma to healing, right? So one thing is stigmatized, the other thing is empowering. And that's where psychology meets spirituality, and the missing link, which Alice Bailey talks about a lot, or the Tibetan talks about through Alice Bailey in the books that we're reading, is that just like Christianity brought society to a certain point, but needs to go further in order to really do more great work, psychology and even science in those fields need to understand and understand spirituality and all of these ancient teachings so that they can go further. Because where psychology would leave you with a label, spirituality gives you the fundamental or the underlying dynamics that can really help a person grow and really understand themselves and really understand what to do with the label, and not just have the stigma.